The rain had just begun to fade when Daniel Mercer pulled his tired horse, Willow, into the shelter of an old, broken-down barn at the edge of the Wyoming Valley. He'd been on the road since dawn, traveling from ranch to ranch, trying to sell what little leatherwork he still made by hand. The road had been long, the wind sharp, and his heart heavier than the rain clouds kneeling over the plains. 2 years had passed since he lost Mary, the love of his life, but the ache still lived inside him like a shadow no sunrise could burn away. He slid down from Willow's saddle, stretched his stiff back, and whispered gently to her. "Easy, girl, we're stopping here for the night. Just a little shelter, nothing fancy." Willow's ears twitched. She wasn't focused on him. She was staring at something behind the haystack deep inside the barn. Daniel frowned. The place looked abandoned, silent as an old grave. He stepped forward, brushing aside cobwebs as he moved. Then he froze. Someone was sleeping there. A woman, young, maybe mid-20s, curled up tightly beside his horse's worn saddle blanket, as though she had found comfort in its smell. Her clothes were dusty, her hair tangled, and her boots torn at the edges. She looked like she'd been walking for days. But what struck Daniel wasn't her appearance. It was her face. She was crying in her sleep. Quiet, breathless tears, the kind a person cries when the pain is too heavy to carry awake. Daniel swallowed. He didn't want to frighten her, but he couldn't just leave her there either. "Hey," he said softly, kneeling beside her. "Ma'am." Her eyes fluttered open, wide, startled, terrified. Then she whispered a name. "Mary." Daniel's blood ran cold. Mary, his late wife's name. He leaned back slowly, shaken to his core. What did you say?" The young woman blinked rapidly, wiping tears from her cheeks as she tried to sit up. I'm sorry," she stammered, embarrassed. "I didn't mean to. I must have been dreaming." She looked around, realizing she'd been found. "Please, don't make me leave. I'll go in the morning. I just needed shelter. I'm not a thief, I swear." Daniel shook his head. "You can stay. It's just the name you whispered. Mary." His voice cracked. "That was my wife's name." The woman's expression softened, her eyes filling with sympathy. "I'm sorry. I didn't know." He cleared his throat, trying to steady himself. "What's your name?" "Lena," she whispered. "Lena Harrow." "Why are you out here alone, Lena?" Her lips parted, but instead of answering, she began to cry again. It took her several minutes to steady herself enough to speak. Finally, she said, "Because I have nowhere left to go." Daniel said nothing, letting the silence stretch. He'd learned long ago that sometimes people needed room for their pain to breathe. Lena wiped her face with the back of her trembling hand. "My husband died 3 months ago in a lumber mill accident. We had no savings, no family. The landlord threw me out a week after the funeral. I've been walking from town to town looking for work, but no one hires a woman traveling alone with no references." Her voice broke. 2 days ago, someone stole my bag while I slept behind a saloon. I have nothing left, not even a coat." Daniel felt something shift inside him, something he hadn't felt in a long time. Compassion so sharp and sudden it hurt. "You're freezing," he murmured. He stood, removed his long winter coat, and gently placed it over her shoulders. Lena stiffened. I can't take this. You need it more than I do." Willow snorted softly behind them, nudging at the girl as though sensing her fear. Lena reached up and touched the horse's nose. "Your horse found me," she said softly. I think she knew I couldn't walk any farther. Daniel chuckled weakly. "Wouldn't surprise me. Willow's got better instincts than I do." For the first time, a small, tired smile touched Lena's lips. They shared the barn for the night. Daniel built a small fire using what scraps of wood he could find. He gave Lena half of his remaining bread. They talked in quiet voices, sharing little pieces of their lives, not enough to open all their wounds, but enough to understand each other's scars. Deep into the night, when the fire had burned low, Lena asked, "Do you still miss her?" "Your wife?" Daniel stared into the flames, his jaw tightening. "Every day," he whispered. "Some days it feels like she's right here beside me. Others, like she never existed at all. Grief is strange like that." Lena nodded slowly. "I'm scared mine will swallow me." Daniel looked at her, really looked at her. The exhaustion in her eyes, The grief she tried to hold together. The loneliness. You're stronger than you think, he said. By morning, the storm had passed. Sunlight broke through the cracked boards of the barn. Lena woke with Daniel's coat wrapped tightly around her, Willow's head resting protectively near her feet. Daniel was saddling his horse when she approached him. "Thank you for letting me stay," she said quietly. "I'll be on my way now." "Where will you go?" She hesitated. "I don't know, but I'll figure it out." Daniel's stomach twisted. The idea of her walking out into the world alone, cold, hungry, without a home, felt wrong. Deeply wrong. "You could come with me," he said before he could stop himself. Lena blinked. "What?" "I'm heading back to my ranch. It's small. Needs more work than I can handle alone. You could stay in the spare room. Just until you get on your feet. No expectations." He lifted his hands. "I promise." Lena shook her head quickly. "I can't be a burden." "You wouldn't be. You'd be helping me as much as I help you." Her voice wavered. "Why would you do that for a stranger?" Daniel swallowed. "Because someone once saved me when I didn't think I deserved saving. Because kindness is the only thing that ever pulled me back from losing myself completely." He took a breath. "And because you said my wife's name last night, like she sent you." The barn was quiet for a long moment. Then Lena whispered, "I'll come." The journey to Daniel's ranch took 3 days. At first, Lena was quiet, keeping her distance. But Willow warmed to her immediately, nudging her hand every time she looked sad. Slowly, Lena began to talk. She told stories about her husband, the small joys they once shared, the dreams they never got to live. Daniel listened, really listened, because he knew how healing it was to speak of someone you loved and lost. And he told her stories about Mary, how she used to dance barefoot in the kitchen, how she had the loudest laugh in the county, how she loved Willow more than anyone. He didn't cry when he talked about her. For the first time in years, remembering Mary felt less like reopening a wound and more like sharing a gift. When they reached the ranch, Lena stared at the land with wide eyes. The farmhouse was small but warm. The barn was sturdy. The fields stretched out like open arms. "You live here alone," she whispered. Daniel nodded. "Too big for one man. Too quiet." Lena smiled faintly. "Not anymore." Days turned into weeks. Daniel taught Lena how to saddle Willow, how to mend fences, how to heat the old wood stove without choking the house in smoke. Lena cleaned, organized, and brightened the place in ways Daniel hadn't realized were possible. She bought fresh flowers from town with the little money Daniel insisted she keep. She learned to cook using Mary's old recipes, the handwriting faded but still readable. One evening, Lena baked a dish Mary used to make, rosemary bread and stew. When Daniel tasted it, something inside him cracked, and he found himself crying for the first time in years. Lena touched his arm gently. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're allowed to miss her." Daniel looked at her through tears. "I didn't think anyone would ever say that again." Their days settled into a rhythm, a partnership built on quiet understanding rather than forced closeness. Sometimes they laughed together. Sometimes they worked side by side without speaking. Sometimes they shared memories of the people they lost. And slowly, something unexpected grew between them. Not love, not yet, but healing. One afternoon, while Daniel was repairing a fence, Lena approached him timidly. "Daniel, I have something to tell you." He set down his tools. "What is it?" She looked nervous, twisting her hands. "That first night, when I whispered your wife's name." She took a shaky breath. "I wasn't dreaming." Daniel stared at her, not understanding. Lena swallowed. "When I was walking through the storm, I collapsed in that barn. I thought I was dying. Everything hurt. I remember closing my eyes, praying for someone to help me. And then I heard a woman's voice." She blinked rapidly. She said, "Daniel, find Daniel." I thought it was my mind playing tricks on me. But then she said her name. A chill ran through Daniel's body. She said, "My name is Mary." The world seemed to stop. Lena's voice was trembling now. I followed that voice. It led me deeper into the barn. It told me to lie down where Willow would find me. That's why I whispered her name. She wiped tears from her eyes. "I didn't want to tell you because I knew it sounded crazy. But, I swear, Daniel, someone was guiding me." Daniel felt his breath leave his body. Mary, his Mary. He looked away, tears blurring his vision. Lena stepped closer. I think she wanted you to help me, she whispered. And maybe she wanted you to heal too. Daniel didn't speak for a long time. He couldn't. He just stood there, the breeze brushing past them, Willow grazing softly behind them, the sun dipping low in a sky painted gold. Finally, he whispered, "Thank you for telling me." From that day forward, the bond between them deepened, not replacing what either had lost, but building something new upon the ashes of grief. A friendship made of shared pain, shared healing, and shared hope. Months later, as winter thawed into spring, Daniel found Lena sitting on the porch. She looked healthier now, stronger, her eyes brighter than the day he found her. "Daniel," she said softly, "I think I'm finally ready." He sat beside her. Ready for what? To live again. Daniel exhaled shakily, a smile tugging at his lips. "Yeah," he whispered, "me too." They didn't need to say anything more. The silence between them was warm, comforting, like two souls finally breathing freely after years underwater. Above them, the wind rustled through the fields, and Daniel swore. For just a moment, he heard Mary's laughter carried on the breeze. Soft, loving, proud. He didn't look back. He didn't need to. He knew that somewhere, somehow, Mary had guided Lena to him, not to replace her, but to remind him that the world still held beauty, still held hope, still held second chances. And as the sun dipped behind the Wyoming hills, Daniel placed a gentle hand over Lena's, and she didn't pull away. Together, they sat in the quiet, wrapped in a peace neither had known in a long, long time. A peace born from kindness. A peace born from healing. A peace born from the belief that even after the deepest loss, life can still give you someone new to hold on to, not instead of what you lost, but in honor of it. And in that moment, Daniel knew. Second chances weren't given by accident. They were given by love.